Hi! Embracing life as a pawn sounds defeatist, right? Or maybe it finally names that itch you felt for years. No matter the paycheck or the praise, something still forces you to perform, comply, prove. What forces are those, and can you tame them? Today I'll share one mindset shift that broke that spell for me. And how can you apply it daily, starting now? I'm Benjamin, and this is the Florin Benjamin Show. Let's get your freedom back. Welcome back. Today's topic is as old as thought itself. So let's turn it into a three-part adventure. I invite you to join me on this adventure. We will first try to understand the hidden forces that shape who we are and what we do. In order to get there, we have to dig down the first one, consciousness itself. Then we will explore the itch, that feeling that something is not exactly right. The questions that never go away and the power structures you've been born into. In the end of our adventure, we will explore the shift, the mindset that one can have in order to break the spell of willing, doing, and having to perform in various ways. Chapter 1. The force behind it all. Consciousness. Earth is stunning, hospitable, terrifying, alive with millions of species. Only one of them asks questions. Us. Our edge is consciousness. Without it, we'd never wonder why we think, act, or even bother breathing. Ever wonder why a blue sky actually feels blue, while a camera only records pixels? That private movie, playing behind your eyes, that vivid sense of what it's like to think, hurt, or daydream, is what philosophers call phenomenal awareness, better known as consciousness. Think of it as a recipe with three everyday ingredients. First comes wakefulness. The simple fact that you're not knocked out or under anesthesia. Next is attention and self-monitoring. The inner voice that says, "Hey, I'm noticing this right now." Finally, there is qualia, the raw flavors of chocolate, the sting of jealousy, the exact shade of a sunrise. Those tiny packets of felt experience that no spreadsheet can capture. Open a dictionary and you'll see a plain definition. Awareness of internal or external states. Step into a neuroscience lab and the story gains wiring, diagrams, spikes of brain activity that flare when you hear, for example, music. How consciousness arises is still up for debate. Neural network emergence claims that once neurons reach a certain complexity, experience simply ignites. Integrated information theory says consciousness equals the amount of cause and effect information stitched together in any system, brain or otherwise. And the wildcard view, panpsychism, flips the script entirely, suggesting tiny sparks of awareness are baked into the universe from the start. Pick your preference, none is too wild. Yet all camps share one core insight. Consciousness is the magic lens that turns raw data into the world you actually feel. Without it, life would be like a silent spreadsheet. No colors, no taste, no ouch. So the next time a breeze grazes your skin or a sunset floods your eyes, remember, you're witnessing the greatest scientific mystery from the inside. Consciousness lets you play the game and lets the game play you. Chapter 2. The itch, when asking one too many questions. Either way, awareness in the way we have it cuts both ways. At 13, I felt it like a curse. I stared at my homework and think, I never asked to be here. Why play by rules that I didn't write? That teenage rebellion is where my story of conscious fighting started. It led me on different paths, finding solutions and answers to questions I didn't even know I have until recently. Childhood, looking back, was like a dream that happened to me. Adults chose my school, dinners, even my bedtime. After years of doing what I was told, I wasn't sure if I had a will of my own. That sounds like a felt sense of powerlessness. Power is the reliable ability to turn an intention into reality, even when something pushes back. Kids don't have that. Unless we question the forces steering us, the sense of being guided from the outside can persist into adulthood, whenever large structures overrule our intentions. So what pushes back? It's power with all its 7 layers. The first one is cultural and the biggest one. Tradition and norms. Then comes economic, money. Then the coercive layer, force and fear. The social one, class and status. The 5th one is the charismatic layer, where fame and influence plays out. The 6th one is persuasive, stories and data. And the last one is knowledge or expertise. These layers shape the board before we take our first move. Sociologist Anthony Giddens puts it bluntly: structures are both the rules we inherit and the outcome of every move we make. We act through them, and they act through us. Considering all this, one can wonder what exactly is that I want that's not predetermined, or already set to happen because of my external circumstances. Where is my agency? As you already saw, the traditional way of seeing this is that even though we inherit everything basically from the outside environment, parents, the government, wealth, to our own DNA basically, we are at the same time the makers and the players, agents that shape these structures, consciously or unconsciously, because we live and act in them. This gave rise to one of the first truths that I learned. There is no such thing as an absolute free will in the sense that you can do whatever you want. Because we live in a predetermined world, we're dealing with what Buddhists call conditioned genesis. And if there is going to be a free will, it is going to be a limited one. Nothing pops into existence on its own. Every thought, sensation, habit, or event arises only because the right causes and conditions line up. Then it fades when those conditions shift. This chain reaction is called Pratītyasamutpāda, or dependent origination. Classic Buddhism maps it at 12 interlocking links. Ignorance sparks mental formations, which sparks consciousness, and so on, all the way to craving, clinging, becoming, and suffering. Break any link by seeing it clearly or acting differently, and the downstream links collapse. In other words, we are shaped by the web that preceded us, and we can reweave that web moment to moment through mindful insight and choice. The fight that started at 13 died down very fast. I only catched glimpses of it during my teenage years, but it went all out in the beginning of my 30s. It came back at a speed and at an intensity that few have ever experienced. The dam broke, and everything came out all at once. I fought with my life and for my life. The more this fighting went on, I realized that I was actually not fighting for me, but for whatever I believed I was. The fight was not to win against an opponent, but to dissolve the one that was fighting. I started by blaming my parents, the world, and in the end, God. I cried, felt huge urges and emotions, and in the end, I let it all be. Chapter 3: The Shift. You change in accepting. In his book on becoming a person, a therapist's view of psychotherapy, Carl Rogers says, "The curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change." Carl Rogers points out a counterintuitive truth about growth. Self-rejection locks us into place. Each time you scold the anxious part, bulldoze the procrastinator, or hide the shame, you burn precious energy defending against yourself. That tension becomes a straitjacket. No matter how hard you strain, you stay exactly where you are. Then comes the pivot. Full, honest acceptance removes that resistance. The instant you can say, "Yes, I'm afraid, angry, messy, and that's okay," the inner fight stops. Easier said than done, but that's the basic principle. With nothing left to pretend or protect, you can look directly at those unwanted companions and see what they're trying to tell you. That clarity sets the stage for action, because insight plus calm equals room to move. From a non-defensive stance, you're free to ask, what sparks this pattern? What tiny experiment could shift it? With your energy no longer spent on self-denial, you've got bandwidth to tweak your environment, your schedule, or your story. And the old habit has finally space to loosen its grip. Rogers' so-called paradox isn't mystical at all. It's psychological physics. Drop the inner friction, and the system begins to move. Returning to the existential sphere, you know what's worse than feeling you are a pawn in an intergalactic chess game? Feeling that you are alone, forgotten, and left out. Feeling that you've been forgotten and not belonging to anything. The problem is not that my life might be predetermined. The problem is me not seeing that I see and feel that. In chapter 1 of this video, I talked about consciousness. We like to place ourselves as humans, and only us, as this flagship specimen who was endowed with this extraordinary unique ability to be self-aware of its own thoughts and emotions. We are the only ones who question, why am I here? What is my purpose? We find it even in the Bible, we humans being the only one cast out of the Garden of Eden. But the reality might be a bit more nuanced. We might not be the only animals that possesses this extraordinary quality. In fact, most animals might have it. Some say even plants or fungi. Start with animals. An elephant stands over a fallen matriarch, stroking her bones for hours. Dolphins recognize themselves in mirrors. Crows solve 8-step puzzles. Awareness isn't binary, it unfolds on a continuum. Plants. A mimosa learns after just 4 drops that the fall isn't harmful and stops folding its leaves. The researcher placed each Mimosa pudica in a small secure pot, attached to a simple rig. Think of a platform on a hinge or a sliding rail. Every few seconds the rig was released so the whole pot and plant fell about 15 centimeters or 6 inches straight down along a guide, then came to a gentle stop. That jolt was enough to shake the leaves and trigger the plant's normal step and shut defense. But it caused no damage. They repeated this drop and stop motion 60 times in succession for each plant, creating a harmless but unmistakable mechanical disturbance the plant could either keep reacting to or eventually ignore, which is textbook habituation. When the scientists repeated the test days and even weeks later, the same plants still ignored the drop, but folded instantly when poked a different way. They had stored a specific memory. This kind of motion is safe, and the memory persisted for up to a month, longer than many insects remember things. All this happened without a single neuron, suggesting that the capacity to adapt behavior based on past experiences runs deeper in the tree of life than we once thought. The line between programmed and aware blurs. Philosophers suggest one possible answer: panpsychism. A faint spark of experience pervades matter. Brain focuses it like a lens concentrates sunlight. Extended mind theory adds, thinking can sprawl into bodies, tools, even networks. No single skull required. Why does this matter to us? Because the moment you see awareness as shared, the loneliness story cracks. Meditation or a safe psychedelic session often reveals this directly. The border of me softens. Life feels like one field, differently folded. The day you sense you're a cell in a larger body, call it Gaia, the web of life, or God, loneliness evaporates. Purpose appears. You're still here because you serve a function in that body. And with that purpose comes responsibility. When a cell rebels long enough, it becomes a cancer, and either the immune systems remove it or the whole organism dies. Our meaningful freedom isn't to leave the body, it's to decide whether to harmonize with it or harm it, and by extent harm us. And in divine terms, God's infinite love grants that choice. Without it, we'll be mere automatons on a production line. Our adventure is almost over. We've traveled from the innermost sparks of consciousness through the 7 rings of power that pre-groove our lives, all the way to our place in the wider universe. Carl Rogers called it the curious paradox. The moment I accept myself exactly as I am, I can change. That insight stitches the whole journey together. First, consciousness, the lens that turns raw data into sunrise bliss. And even algebra, it lets us play the game and lets the game play us. Next, the 7 rings: culture, money, force, status, charisma, story, know-how, grooves carved by history. Buddhism showed us those grooves only hold when their right condition hold. Self-rejection, I realized, is just another conditioned groove. When I fight the board or blame the players, the root deepens. When I say, yes, this is the board and this is the piece I am right now, inner friction melts. From that calm spot, I can nudge one link, shift one layer, and a new path appears. Accept the lens. Accept the terrain. You stop feeling like a discarded pawn and become a living cell in something larger. With inner and outer resistance gone, real change, personal and collective, finally has runway. So step forward as your whole self, flaws, quirks, controversies, and all, and watch the board rearrange itself in response to your full presence. No matter where you are in this journey, I hope love, peace and kindness find you. Before you go, if you like this video, feel free to watch this next video. Until next time, Benjamin.